Welcome to episode 4, folks. I've done a lot of work off camera at this point. I'm just going to provide you an update here. So I haven't replaced the capacitors yet. This is our Atwater Kent Model 67C, obviously. And I said in the last episode that I was going to replace these sardine can caps. I haven't done that yet, and I'll explain why. What you'll see here is, first of all, I've got the rust address. So I used some of that Rust-Oleum rust reformer, and it did as promised. It changed the rust into a hard black substance. And what I've done here is I've put just some Rust-Oleum silver paint on it just to protect it. It's going to stop the rust from spreading, and that's really what I'm going for here. I'm not going for aesthetics. I just want to stop this thing from rusting away to nothing. So I've got it applied on the bottom side here. It's hard as a rock. I don't think we're going to have any more problems. I've also put the coils back in place, and I'll flip this over in a moment and show you. And I put our output transformer in. And the next thing I need to do is put the other transformer right here. But then we're going to start the wiring process, and this is very simple. There's not much under here. I'll replace these wire wound resistors. There's one right here, and this is pretty simple. Let me flip it over and show you what it looks like on the other side, and you'll see that I've got the battery compartment back in. There's the transformer. There's our coil cans. If you look right down here, this little silver patch right here, that's the only part of the rust on the top that you can see, because it's really covered by this battery can. So from a top perspective, it's pretty good. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to start working on that front panel and wiring the tuning capacitors and the volume control and the power switch and the indicator light and all that good stuff. So that's kind of where we are here. So all the coils are in place, shined up, everything's looking good. I also worked on the front panel of the radio, and here's what it looks like. And if you remember, this radio had a fake wood grain front. And the way they did that years ago was they did it with paint. Well, I decided to do something a little bit different here, and I used kind of this vinyl wood grain. It's almost like contact paper, but it's a little thicker than that. It's got a really nice thick texture to it. And I removed the escutcheon here, and I removed the all the other pieces, like this little ring that goes around the power switch. And this is just a hole filler. I'm not sure what its point was, but it was there. I've removed it all. Made sure this thing was rust free. Of course, you remember I put this in the Evapo-Rust, and I applied the wood grain, and you can see that looks really, really good. To reattach this, I used pop rivets, and I'm going to just need to get my gold paint out and just do a little dab of gold paint on those because they're silver. And aside from that, I mean, this thing's really looking good, so that's going to be really nice on the front. On this back side here, for that little pin, this little emblem, I'm not sure again what it is, I did put a little JB Weld there just to hold that in place. And I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to give this a coat of just black paint on this side just to protect it and make sure that it stays neat. So we've got that done. Let me show you the front cage here, so let me go grab that and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is our control panel, and this is where the knobs are, volume control, tone control, and all that good stuff. And you see I've got this shined up. This is where our tuning knob goes. And I've also painted all of these components. So there's a side piece here, and there's one on this side, and then there's little center things, and I've shined up these knobs which hold down the top of the tube cover. And this is pretty much ready to get reinstalled, and that'll be the next thing that we do. So from a physical restoration perspective, I think we're pretty much done. We've got everything that we need to put it together, and we're really up to the electrical restoration. All right, so that part's going good. And then as far as the power supply goes, I've showed you the B plus side of that. Brendan and I are working on the C plus side and the A side, and finalizing that deal. And what I've decided, obviously, again, is that I'm going to create just a power supply box. Remember, this thing sits in a wooden cabinet, and it has a special shelf just for batteries. So I'm going to create a metal project box, a plastic project box, fairly large. And I'm going to put the 3 various power supplies in there, all protected with fuses and grounded properly, etc., and run a bundle of cable up to this radio and use some type of Molex connector or something that makes it detachable. So that's how I'm going to handle the power of this thing and the connections. So that's also a work in progress. But you can see that we're coming along really nicely, and again, I'm really happy with this. This to me is like the whole radio. This just looks really sharp, and I love the wood grain in there. So if you're doing one of these, go for the contact paper. It looks really good, and it'll look nice in the wood cabinet. The wood cabinet is cherry, and this has highlights of cherry in it. So really cool. So that's my progress. Just one other thing, I'm also replacing all the screws. So I've taken out all of these slotted screws here when I took this thing apart, and I'm replacing them all with more modern screws that are not rusty, and I'm using all Phillip head screws just to make this thing more serviceable. So I got a whole bag of them here, so we're in good shape. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to be away for a couple days, and I probably won't be posting a video till next weekend. So you won't see much from me until then. But I wanted to just post this update of where we are. When I get back, I'm obviously going to be working on the power supply, and I'm building all 3 power supplies in the permanent structure. And I've decided I'm going to do that before I test the radio. Instead of putting test boards together, I'm going to build the entire power supply, make sure it works, and then I'll work on how I'm going to wire it. And this box is going to be empty. I'm not going to be running any wires through here for the batteries. It's just going to be for cosmetic purposes. And there will be a wire that comes out of the back of the radio here that has the bundle that we need to power everything. All right, so I'm going to put this video up and let you see that. And hopefully if you're restoring one of these, you're learning something, that you just take your time and it looks really good. And this is no exception. This radio is coming along real nice. So I'm going to be fairly proud of it. I wrote to the owner of the radio, my bandmate, and asked him if he could kind of put together a story for me of the radio that I'm going to let you guys know about in a future video for this. I do know that it was his grandmother's radio, and it sat on a farm for many years. I don't know where, how, when. So as soon as I get the details of this, I will let you know. And obviously it's unique to have a radio that you know the history of. So that's the case here, which is also good because it was unmolested. So that's the story. So I'll see you guys in about a week, and everybody stay well and stay warm if you're in the Midwest. You guys are freezing out there. Unbelievable. All right, guys, take care.